Okay, Mr. Semevo, thank you so much for your patience. We're glad you could make it today. DVLA has become topical recently, and that is a good thing because these are opportunities for us to educate the general public on what they're supposed to be doing. And so thank you again for coming. Licensing is our focus today. And I think we generally understand the rules. In order to drive in this country, you must have a driver's license. You must be a certain age in order to get the driver's license, and to get it, you must meet certain criteria physically and so forth. Now, once you have that license in your pocket, let us start with some clarity for those who might have missed our last conversation, where there was a letter that went out creating a bit of uncertainty and confusion about what the rules are. For a holder of a driver's license, as you drive around, if you are stopped by the police and asked to produce your license and it's not with you at the time, what happens?
All right. Good morning to you and your listeners and viewers. The law is very clear on production of driver's license. Now, once you have obtained a driver's license, that's your permission to use the road and other public places, and therefore you are required by law to produce the license and the original copy of the license for inspection if the police officer requests so. The law is also clear that any police officer could request your license for inspection. However, when it comes to retaining that license for further investigation, it should be of the rank of sergeant or above. So that is clear. There are cases where we understand that you may be driving and you had just switched vehicle and you left your license in the other vehicle, or you changed your bag, your dress, and you might have left the license. The law also gives some discretion or option where if you have left your license, and depending on the circumstances, the police may give you 24 hours to produce that. So there is a sort of balance in the production of the license. If you don't have it, and depending on the circumstances, then you may be given the 24 hours to produce it. So if, assuming you are in an accident, for instance, definitely you are going to go back to the police station to continue some processes with the police. So if you don't have it immediately, they may ask you to produce it. Where maybe you are on a journey, and let's say you left Accra to Kumasi, you will reside in Kumasi. The police may say, take the license to a particular police station for inspection, because they may communicate among themselves. So those are the circumstances.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the clarity. I think when we had the last conversation, the lawyers were insisting that if you read the whole law together, I think paragraph C or D actually suggests that this presenting your license 24 hours later is not really a discretionary
It's more
matter.
of an option.
The suggestion of the lawyers is that that's what must happen. If you don't have the license, that you must have 24 hours to produce it, because that fourth paragraph actually says that it's either presenting there or 24 hours later.
So you see that the law always will set a certain condition, and at a certain point, if you read it totally together, that is actually the understanding you get. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, I, for example, today completely forgot my wallet at home, which means that I had to borrow my colleague's driver's license in order to read the wording on it, because I want to ask you about some of the things on the actual card, the license card. So if I'm stopped today by the police, I hope they understand the law and I'll have 24 hours to present my license. But okay, so I have my colleague's license in my hands now. Very scary passport picture. On the front of it, it has his name, date of birth, what class of license it is. It says Class B, and then there's date of issue. His nationality is there. The license number is there as well, reference number. and then it has date of issue and expiry date. My colleague's license expires in 2026, March 2026. So he's got a good 3 years before his license expires. But on the back, it says that in the bottom right corner, it says second renewal, 26th of March 2024.
Okay.
Now, this is an easy thing to miss, especially because on the front it tells me the expiry date, and when I turn to the back, the first, I don't know, maybe 4/5 of the space is for stuff that is boilerplate. You see it on every license. So my first inclination would not be to expect some specific information pertaining to me, the holder of the license, on the back.
Okay.
But there is this date here, second renewal. Please explain to us what the difference is between the renewal and the expiry date.
Okay, so let me just state that for every driver's license, the front page states things relating to the restrictions, the person holding the license. However, interpretation of some of those are behind the license. So you mentioned the class, for instance.
Yeah.
The interpretation of that class will be behind the driver's license. So definitely in holding the license, we encourage the holders to also turn the back and get to understand what they have. Now, in the law, the driver's license is issued for 6 years. However, every 2 years, you are required by law again to validate the license. So behind it, you see first renewal, second renewal, but the 6 years is taken care of on the front page of it.
With the expiry date.
With the expiry date. So in the 6th year, we then will replace the license. And what we do also is that a new photograph of the holder will be taken. Because every 6 years. Because people change physically after some time. Now, if people recall the previous license we had, we didn't clearly indicate whether the dates were renewal dates. So there was a lot of confusion. The feedback led to us improving the date or the information on it. So if you take the license and you turn it back, clearly you see your first renewal date, you see your second renewal date, and then the 6th renewal is the front, and that makes up for the 6 years. So we have a document that has even been developed to break down all this and even the symbols that are on the license. So take that license you are holding now. You see 2 symbols on it. You see a spectacle, and you see a symbol that looks like an automatic shift.
It has an A with a circle around it.
Exactly. Now, what this means is that should you see any of these symbols on the front page, and usually it will be put above your photograph, should you see any of that, it means that you have a restriction. So assuming I am to drive with the aid of glasses, the symbol of the glasses will be printed on top of my driver's of my picture. Then I will have to turn the back and get interpretation for that symbol. Yes. So we have had cases where people said, you have restricted me to automatic only. But definitely if the symbol is not printed above your image, then there's no restriction. Yeah. So we encourage people to read both the front page and then the back of the license. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because I am of at least average intelligence and education, and until you just explained these 2 symbols, the glasses and the A, I was looking at this license and assuming that my colleague has been restricted, right?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to logically explain what you just explained to me. I wonder whether maybe DVLA would be interested in perhaps some redesign of the license, just repositioning a few things, adding a bit of explanation, just so that what people see makes a bit more sense to them. alternatively, can you maybe improve the handover process so that it will come with some instructions? Your staff will explain certain basic things to every person who is receiving a license from them. Because I didn't get an explanation of renewal dates when I was given. And I got great service from your staff, by the way. Let me commend them. But nobody explained renewal dates to me. Is that something you
So that is
can
something
consider?
we've actually taken on board. And soon you will see the document I was just talking about accompany every license that goes out to the holder. But in the process of restriction, so if you are to wear glasses, if you are restricting you to automatic vehicle, you are told. Because in the process, if you are not testing you with the manual gear vehicle, immediately you are told that you will be restricted to automatic vehicle, because that is what you use for the test. However, if you use the manual, it is easy to switch to automatic, so you don't have any restriction. If you are going to be restricted to use glasses because you have gone through the eye test and that has been determined, we tell you. But of course, it is also okay to add more information to educate the public. So definitely we are going to improve that document and start giving it out to our clients. Yeah.
Okay. If you just joined us, we're talking to Kafui Semevo. He's the Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing at the DVLA. And of course, he's helping us understand everything to do with licensing, and he's ready for your questions as well. Okay, use the hashtag JoySMS, send them through, and then later when we open the phone lines, please call us and let's get your issues addressed. Now, one of the questions I had when we told everybody about today's show was from somebody who lives abroad. He did a driving test some years ago. He's a qualified driver. He has a Ghanaian license, but while he's been away, the license expired. He's been driving in the country where he's living, so he is still a capable driver. When he returns to Ghana, is he going to have to start from scratch in order to get a whole new license from DVLA?
No, he doesn't have to, except in a case where the license he has been declared invalid. So you remember we had a booklet license that looked like the passport.
Yes.
And then we switched to the card.
Right.
Now, if you had that document and you were not migrated into the new system, then unfortunately we cannot process your old document. So what will happen is that in that case, if he is driving where he is and he has a license from that jurisdiction, the law permits us to recognize those licenses, if they are valid and genuine, to convert them into the Ghanaian license. So he has that option. For instance, if he was not driving and he came back to Ghana, then he will be required to start the process and acquire, because for that long time he would have been declared a dormant driver.
Right.
So we want to test and see whether your competences and your knowledge are still same. So those are the opportunities available to.
So would he have to go and start from driving school and come all the way through, do driving lessons?
So in this process we will have some discretion, because we will have records to show that you had a license before. So then we will have to look at it and say, okay, you may not have to go to driving school, but you have to do the test. Yes. So we'll start from the test and then we take you through. Once you are successful, we'll give you the license. Yeah.
Let's talk about the test. What does it entail today?
All right. So for you to obtain a driver's license, the test comes in two folds. We have the medical examination, and then we have, which is also a test, and then we have the driving test itself. Let me first of all start from the medical. The medical, for now, we are requesting everybody to do an eye test at the DVLA accredited eye centers. Now, when you finish that, then there's a need for physical fitness. So we do the physical examination, and you're also supposed, in our interaction with you, declare to us by law whether you have any disability, any disease that may impair your driving abilities or may cause danger to other road users.
What sort of diseases are considered to be an impediment to driving?
Okay, so you may have epilepsy, for instance, and you may be aware that you have it. Yeah. You may have physical challenges that may be visible to us, and there are some that you may insist that you can still drive, but depending on observation, we will require you to go for medical examination. But the medical examination is just an advice to help us make our final decision on whether you are capable of driving or not. Yeah. And we do it in a way that we don't want decisions to look discriminatory or to look safe because of your condition. We are rejecting you. So even because of that, we have developed guidelines for licensing persons with disability. We are currently training our officers on that, who will soon train the public on how and what the requirements are, so that everybody, the decision made is actually uniform, is standardized, and doesn't discriminate against anybody. Yeah. Now, the other thing is that when it comes to the driving test, we look at the theory test and then the practical test.
If you don't mind, if we can finish the medical exams, you've described the eye test. You've talked about
physical fitness,
fitness, which would then, of course, include any diseases and so forth that could affect your ability to drive. How about mental assessment? Is there any such thing?
There are few occasions where, in interacting with applicants, there is we will notice certain traces or characters that we cannot conclude that is, but will tell us that this person will have to see a psychiatrist, and those we refer. We've had I think 2 years ago, we had somebody who was on some drugs, and then we requested the person to go for a test at 37. The person knew, so the person didn't go immediately, waited for some time. He presumed that the effect of the medication would have gone down, right? But when they did the test, the doctor saw something and said, "I will call you again for a test." But they didn't give him an appointment, so they just called, and then he went. But meanwhile, he has used the drug again. So it was confirmed that he was on drugs. And in such cases, if you are put on treatment and you are helped to correct the behavior, and there is evidence that you have done so, then they will advise us and we can continue the process. The danger is that there may be people who have been licensed already, who are out there also in same situation, but we may not be able to identify them. And having followed some of your programs, I know that now we are paying some attention to mental health, and we need to intensify it because it's real. It's real.
I'm glad you look at it that way, because if there is no official test of mental, I mean, are they not even supposed to declare that they are of sound mind? Is that not a requirement?
Yes. So that declaration only affects them when you now have some evidence against them to say that you have this condition, but you did not declare to me.
So that's the only time it kicks in.
Exactly.
So in reality, we are not checking people's mental health before giving them driver's licenses at the moment.
No.
That might explain a lot of what we see on our roads. Wow. Okay, we're talking to Kafui Semevo, Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing at DVLA. We're learning all about the licensing process. Your questions are welcome. We'll be putting them to him shortly. I mean, so what is there a plan on the side of DVLA to somehow include a mental assessment, or is it not a realistic,
It is realistic, and that is not even the only condition. And there are some discussions ongoing now to identify which other tests should be added. So if you look at the reason we even reformed the eye test, for instance, there was some survey conducted that really pointed to the fact that, look, people were developing sight problems they were not aware of, because sight problems sometimes are not even painful. So you may not even know. And most of the conditions were conditions that we could save the sights. So then we decided that, look, let's reform it and get a specialist to do it. And therefore, there are other discussions ongoing. So where we have enough evidence to do certain changes, then it will come in. And, these things take a lot of stakeholder engagement and processes must be the right processes before you start to do it. So we are having some discussions. When it gets to the time where we have to make decisions on those, we will. Yeah.
Okay. So you were going to move on to the driving test
Yes.
side of it.
So, like I said, the driving test, we have two tests: the theory test and then the practical test. The theory test, you are supposed to take the test, a theory test that covers your understanding of the road, the sharing of the road, the rules and regulations of the road, and then any other theoretical knowledge you have that we test. But what we do usually is that we have a team that will usually just, whilst you are on the road, pick behaviors that are wrong but are repeated, and we create situations around them. And interestingly, when you evaluate the outcome, you find out that people think that those behaviors are right. Yes. So this goes also to influence training, because once we see that, we also train our instructors to look out for this when they are training them, and then we train our examiners to also look out for that when they are being tested. Now, we have also tried to introduce more pictorial questions for people to understand the situations, analyze them before they respond, and that is also helping. And since we introduced that, we realize that the pass marks have gone up a bit. Yeah. Oh. Yes, instead of the wedded, the whole wedded something. What we are doing in that side of the test to improve it is that it's now totally English. It means that there are people out there who do not speak English or who cannot read and understand the English, who are still driving but are not able to access our service because of the language barrier. Such people, the question is, what would they be doing? How would they be getting the permission? Definitely they may be ending up in the hands of fake people who So what we are doing now is to respond to that problem by introducing 6 voice local languages over the test. So it's going to be in voice. We have Chi, we have Ewega, Dagbani, Hausa, Enzima. We are going to do the translation. We have developed
the voice will read the question, right?
Yes.
And the options or the possible answers for them to choose.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, even in the choosing, what we have done is that we are moving away from the use of mouse. So you just touch
the screen.
Yeah. You touch and then your answer is submitted and then your score is done. The practical side has been to a large extent subjective, because you are with
an instructor
and an examiner, who is making decisions on your performance. We are trying to reduce the subjectivity in there, so technology is being introduced. Now, you could say that move from point A to point B, and I will assess certain behaviors on that stretch. Whether you move from there or not, it is not easy to verify, especially if the examiner and the applicant have some come to certain agreements. So what we are doing is that we are defining the test routes for all our centers. We are going to introduce electronic systems for scoring the test. And just like you order a ride and say, I'm moving from, let's say, Joy FM to DVLA, you key in the points and the routes you are using. The system will ensure that you exhaust the routes before the score can be entered. We have also reformed the areas of test. We have added more, because the behavior you see now should go into the test. So more additions have been made, more modifications have been made. We have started the upgrade of our system now. Hopefully, we should start testing by July to see how it will go, and by September, we should fully have deployed the new system. Yes, so that is what we are doing in that area. What that also does is that we are also looking at our busy locations like Accra, Tema, Kumasi, where we have a number of examiners. So on your appointment, we can bring somebody from, let's say, Wager to test you in Accra.
Right.
We can bring somebody from Tema to test in Accra, some range from Accra to just to make sure that there is some level of trust and
impartiality,
exactly,
as far as possible,
and credibility in the testing system.
Right. This introduction of languages is such a good idea, but this is something that DVLA promised to do a number of years ago. What caused the delay?
Okay, so we had to go through certain approvals to come to this, and unfortunately for us, just when we were getting to the end of the process, the COVID set in. So all parties had to relax. Now, we were doing the value for audit at the time,
right,
when the COVID set in. So after COVID, it took some time for us to come back. But now we have the approval. We've started work. We are engaging with the Bureau of Languages to see how the translation can be done quickly. So we do the test, then we roll out the solution to ensure that everybody can now access. We even found out that the 6 languages, there are even more languages that have to be added. So we have now agreed to do it in phases. We do the first 6, see how it goes, what should be improved, then we can add on other languages.
Kafui Semevo is our guest. He's the Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing at DVLA. We're learning all about licensing today. Very, very interesting conversation, and we've already picked up so much new information. I'm sure you have too. All right, so we'll be opening the lines in just a moment to take your calls and questions, but a few of them have been coming in already. Let me see what I have here. This one says, how come the new license does not make any reference to the date of your original license like the old one did?
All right, so this license is an improvement upon the first one. This card has a chip embedded in it,
right,
that contains certain information that is not printed on a license. The license card, the space provided can only take certain number of characters on it. So what we have done, the solution provides the opportunity to give you your driver's records. If you request for it, it will give you the full records that will show when your first license was issued, and when you upgraded, when you replaced it, when you renewed it. Because if you look at the license, we can have limited information on it. We can provide everything on it. So that is why it is like that. Yeah.
Okay, all right, that explains it. Now to my question before we took a break. The documentary revealed lots of loopholes that criminals were taking advantage of. Have they all been closed?
All right, so if you refer to our response to the gaps that were identified, there are a number of steps we are taking, and from what I've even outlined includes some of this. However, what we have done immediately, we classify them into long-term and then the medium-term.
Right.
The immediate actions are that every license that goes for print is now vetted and fully vetted. So you may see any application coming in, but the application will not be fully processed. However, what we are doing is that we don't want to mix manual processes with automated processes, because there were some standalone systems that were not integrated. That is why people had those opportunities. So we've started the integration processes. We've started the upgrade of the software itself. That is undergoing review. There are also security features we are introducing at our test centers. And one of the measures we are even introducing is the fact that you can not complete a process without vetting or without verification. And sometimes the processing sentence, we could change people without recourse to the applicant or even the person. We can just pull you and say, don't continue this process, let another person continue. But at the head office, there is a whole team that vets every application that we receive. We are expecting that by September, when we fully roll out all these gaps that were identified, will be fully closed, because it is not convenient to monitor, or it's not even easy to monitor manual systems totally, but we are using systems to do that.
Right. Let's open the lines while we continue our conversation. 0302 216 541 055 1111 997 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. Call us with your questions for the DVLA. Now, in the documentary, one of the things we realized was that it's possible for somebody at a driving school to completely circumvent the whole process and just not do any driving school at all, but just sign off that it's been done. Can the DVLA do anything to block that loophole?
Yes. So again, at the driving school, you realize that they are registered on a system for training.
Right.
What we have done is that we are now segregating your learner training section from the actual issues of the license.
Right.
So the reference number that they were using, now the issuance is even going to delay. You must complete the required hours of training before that number will be released.
Right.
Now, when you come to the second stage where the practical test will be done, there will be another reference generated linked to the first one before you can continue the process.
Right.
Yes. What we are also doing is that we have started retraining of the instructors. It's ongoing now, and we are re-identifying them on the system.
Right.
So now, if you register as an instructor, your driving school will not assign you to the system. We'll do the assigning to the system so that we know who and who are in there. So we are taking some rights away from them, and we'll do it from our end here.
All right. Okay. Now we'll take a few calls, take a few of their questions in a row, and then you can answer them in batches.
Right.
Okay. So let's take a couple of calls. Mark is in Osu. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for calling us.
Yeah. Good morning, Kafui.
Good morning.
I hope the name rings a bell.
Yeah, Mark.
Ordinarily, I wouldn't have called you in public, but let me get this clarification.
Yeah.
You know, when you walk to your offices about renewing your license, you are asked to pay a premium and then given some number of days that the license will be ready. And it takes at times 3 months, more than 3 months, for you to get your license. What have you done about it? My second issue, I don't know whether it's within your jurisdiction, but it's about tinted glasses. You drive, and at times you are stopped by some of your guys. Some say, I know the regulations say 75% visibility. What are they using to test that visibility? That permeation, what are they using? I mean, let's address so that it becomes more scientific than somebody's discretion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks very much. Let's go to Tema. Hello, Isaac. Good morning. Hello, do we have Isaac from Tema? I think we may have lost Isaac. Please call us back, Isaac. We'd love to hear your question. The numbers again, 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. While we're waiting for the next call, maybe I can ask about the other loophole that was revealed in the documentary, and that is when it comes to the theoretical test and the fact that some people can just do the test for you or so forth. How have you plugged that loophole?
All right, so
forgive me, just before you come in, we have a caller. Reverend Asante is in Ablekuma. Hello, Reverend. Good morning. Hello, do we have Reverend Asante? No, I think we've lost him. Perhaps you can go ahead while we wait for the next call.
All right, so immediate instruction is that all regional and district managers are now responsible for all our test rooms. They grant access to the test room, and they take responsibility for anybody who goes into the test room there.
Right.
We have also assessed the test rooms. We started introducing CCTV cameras into the test rooms. The next stage is that we are going to be doing biometric entry for the applicants themselves. And when we upgrade the system and you are taking the test, intermittently, it will require you to take a picture. So you have to be present. You have to be the one writing the test. Exactly.
Right.
We are also asking that the supervisors sit out of the test room when the test is in progress.
Okay.
You only finish, you submit electronically, and then you walk out. Yeah.
All right. Chidiak is in South La. Hi, Chidiak. Good morning.
Yeah, Kojo, good morning.
Thanks for calling us. Long time.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. Outside, in the developed world, when you have accidents, 1, 2, your license is taken away from you and you don't drive again. In Ghana, why we don't apply that? People have accidents 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and they still drive on our roads. I want to know why. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chidiak. I think what you mean is that when people violate traffic regulations, a number of times they lose their license. It's not when they have accidents. Let's add that to our pool of questions. We'll get you an answer. Ernest is in Medina. Hi, Ernest. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I hope you're also doing well.
Not bad at all, Ernest. What's your question?
Okay, so my question is that why are a lot of people, lodging around, in and around DVLA office? They call these people Guru boys, and they are still there. And I learned they work with some of these DVLA officials. I think my question is that why are they still allowing them to be there around their offices while they don't have any business there? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Thomas is in Accra. Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning, Mr. Langston. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What's your question?
Education. My question is that my license have been marked with a spectacle, but my spectacle is for reading and not for vision. I mean, I'm okay with vision. So there was this day the policeman stopped me when I've removed my spectacle, and he insisted that if I am, I explained to him my spectacle is for reading, but not necessarily for vision, but it was marked. So he was insisting that since it's been marked, anytime I'm driving, I should wear the spectacle. I just want to find out whether, that should be it, since it's only for reading.
Can he clarify where the mark is on the license?
Yeah, just for our purposes, Thomas, where is the mark on your driver's license?
So the mark is on my head, on my picture.
Above the picture. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Okay. Just out of curiosity, is it difficult to drive with your reading glasses on?
Well, sometimes, because you are not reading, you feel a bit of, I don't know whether to say nervousness in the eye, so then I have to remove it.
Right. Thank you. We'll get you an answer in just a moment. We've got Reverend Asante back on the line from Ablekuma. Thank you for calling again, Reverend Asante. Good morning.
Yeah, hello, good morning, Kojo.
Yes, sir.
Kojo, thanks for education. I just realized I have 2 limitations on my phone, on my card.
Okay.
One is driving with spectacles. That is true. Second one, to drive only automatic vehicles.
Right.
I took my license in 1982, and I used manual vehicle. Does it mean I can't drive with manual now that I have this limitation on my driver's license?
Reverend, where are the markings, the limitation marks? Where are they on the license?
They are where you put the sticker, when you read, where the back.
Ah, okay. We've actually dealt with this matter. We'll give you an answer. Stay tuned. Keep listening. We'll explain the answer to you, okay? Let's talk to Uncle John. Uncle John, good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Sakuman.
Okay. What's your question?
My question is, I'm old driver. I have a valid license. Recently, I heard from the museum that we are going to take another permit before we drive. I want to hear from him. Is it true that I have to get road permit beside this license before I drive? That's my question.
Okay. All right. Uncle John will get you an answer right now. Uncle John called us from Sakumono. All right. So we've got about 6 of these questions to go with for now. So let's get started. Mark wanted to know. He paid a premium when he was renewing his license, but it took about 3 months for him to get it. He wants to know why that delay.
Okay, first of all, we apologize for the delayed service. We actually had some challenge with printing, so there was a backlog created. But fortunately for us, the World Bank has also assisted with additional printing equipment and also materials.
Yeah.
So we have a new schedule now that we are trying to take care of the backlog and restore the service to normalcy. Okay. So we sincerely apologize to those whose licenses have delayed. We also are putting in another measure where we are collaborating with the Ghana Post to distribute licenses to holders. So it's an optional service on your application. If you opt for the service, when the license is ready, we'll post it to you. I think Mark also touched on
tinted glasses.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't just look at the vehicle and then determine that it's below the 70 or 75%. Yeah. Now, what we do, the team you meet, they have tint meters that they use to measure the light or the transparency of the tint before they make a decision. So they actually do not just decide on their own, but depending on the measurement they obtain from the meter, then they make a decision as to, yeah. And we should also know that these things are done for our own safety. You see people driving and you cannot even see who is in the vehicle. Some have tinted to the extent that they even tinted the windscreen itself. And these are not things that are allowed. So those are the reason we are taking those actions. I think there was also a question about why we are not suspending or revoking driver's licenses when people get involved in an accident. But it's not just accident, but if you violate traffic regulations, yes, what is going to happen is that the DVLA, the police, National Road Safety, and other stakeholders are working to introduce the spot fine, for instance. So if there are certain offenses that will be listed, if you commit any of them on the spot, there will be a fine. If you repeat it for a number of times, there will be an action taken against you. Now, we are also building our system to reflect the point system, where if you obtain a number of traffic offenses, then you may lose your license, or your license may be suspended or cancelled, depending on the infractions that you were involved in.
When will that kick in?
I think that the contract was signed just this year, and the stakeholders are working around the clock to deploy the system. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Ernest wanted to know, why are there still Guru boys at DVLA offices?
All right. So if you look at our offices are walled. The people around the offices, we don't own those properties, so we don't determine who should be on those lands. However, we are particular about who comes into our system, how we identify the person, and what does the person do. And that is why we are using more of systems to control activities than just chasing people around. Yeah. And we actually getting results from this. In the past, because we were using the paper-based test, for instance, anybody could just print any of our score sheets and submit. But ever since we started the automated testing and making sure that people now can generate invoice and see how much they are going to be paying, I can tell you that some of the people we call the guru boys, or the middlemen themselves, have now set up what I would say cafes, and they are generating invoices for people. That is a good service. That is not you interfering with our services. So what is happening is that gradually, as we improve the automation, it's actually cutting away the interactions we get for growth. However, we have also identified that apart from some of our staff also interacting with these people, the customers themselves sometimes will want to be held by these people. So where we see that you are coming in for a service and somebody is coming with you who doesn't need to be there, we tell you to, go away with the person. Right. So even recently we observed that people come and the first thing they want to do is who is going to help me, but that is not what it is. So we have our customer service support teams at all the offices now. We have our customer service centers. You can always contact them for them to help you, and we are also pleading with the public to desist from using the Goro Boys, because at the end of the day, whatever they give you, you can't verify it. Now, soon we will deploy an app which will help our customers also verify documentation they obtain from us. So that again is another step to take away the Goro Boys. So if you give me a document that I can verify and I find out that it's not from DVLA, then yes. And you see, people get invoice. They see clearly what they are going to be paying, and then they give more than that to a Goro Boy, and don't care what they are getting. And most of these licenses or documents they get have turned out to be fake documents. And why will you do that? Yes, we will continue the public education, but we also want the public to help us clean the system.
You mentioned that, look, you care who comes into your compound. You don't control those who are outside your compound. But the truth is that these Goro Boys, in order for them to operate, they come into your building and they interact with your staff in order to get whatever it is that their so-called customer is asking for. So they come into your buildings. It's not those who are loitering outside with no access that we are worried about. It's those who can come in and get things done.
Yep.
And the question is, why are they still there?
So I'm not being on the defensive. What I'm saying is this, that we know that there are some people, middlemen, who lead customers in there.
Yes.
But we have also introducing systems to make sure that these people are cut out.
Okay.
Now, we are soon going to deploy even the queue system. It means that two people cannot have one number for a service to be rendered.
Right.
Okay. Apart from that, we are doing the public education to also, you go to our offices, you even hear announcements being played all over, encouraging the public not to use the services.
Yeah.
Now, internally, we are also holding our staff responsible and checking them to reduce those interactions.
Yeah.
So that is what we are doing.
Okay. Thomas has been told that he must drive with his reading glasses.
We actually need to see Thomas's eye test reports and know exactly what the report states. Because before that restriction will be put there, it means that the optometrist or the ophthalmologist has indicated that you have to drive with a driver's license. If it is a reading glasses and that decision was made, we'll reverse it. But we need to see his results to be able to do that. So he can come in anytime and we'll go back to look at it and take the necessary action to correct if he has to.
Yeah, Thomas, you've heard Mr. Semevo. So please come in to the DVLA office and get some help with that. Now, Reverend Asante asked an interesting question. You remember I said at the beginning that I am of average intelligence, but when I look at this driver's license, my understanding is that this colleague of mine has been restricted to drive with glasses and can only drive an automatic vehicle.
Really?
And Reverend has come to the same conclusion. Please explain the correct situation to him again.
All right, so like I said from the beginning, any person who has a driver's license, we encourage you to read the front and the back. The front has information relating to you, relating to restrictions you may have, the class of license, and your nationality. Now, the back of the license gives interpretation to the restrictions and then the class of license you have. So if Reverend looks at the back page of his license, of course he will see the two symbols there. But if the symbol is not printed above his photograph on the front page, then it is not a restriction. So his license is not restricted.
Right.
He still can drive the manual vehicle as he used to drive in the 80s. He still can do that.
Yeah. So, Reverend, there you go. If there are no glasses or automatic gearbox symbols on your picture on the front, then you are not restricted. Uncle John was the last caller. He says that he has been told that he needs a permit as well as a driving license. Is this true?
Okay, so I'm sure he is a commercial driver. The position of the law is that the commercial drivers must obtain commercial driving permit. Now, we have looked at the law, stakeholders have looked at it, even including the driver unions. And the conclusion is that we have requested for amendment of that section to be able to give us the opportunity to separate private drivers from commercial drivers, so that we don't issue two documents to commercial drivers, but we rather, instead of issuing a permit in addition to their driver's license, we rather issue a commercial driver's license. Yes, we have obtained approval to even start the process. So when we start to replace their licenses, we will then be issuing then just one document, which will be the commercial driver's license. However, it will also require that if you are a commercial driver, you belong to a transport company, operating company, because you cannot just be out there,
right?
Yeah, without being properly identified. That helps us to also program their training well and make sure that the training is targeted at particular problems and particular groups to address the gaps that are in there.
Okay, so that's the explanation of this permit thing that Uncle John has been told. Okay, wow. I wonder if we have time for some more calls. Can we take some calls? 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. You've come in for some very serious commendation from Samson Ladia Nyenini, who says, and I want to read his message. He says, I confess he won me with his demeanor and integrity of communication the last time we spoke. I just love public officers who demonstrate their appreciation that theirs is to service or facilitate easy enjoyment of their services by the people. And he says, I drove straight to their premium offices that day after court to renew my license, even though I hardly drive. It was not a suggestion. He's talking about the other thing. But yes, you certainly encouraged him to make full use of your services from the way you interacted with him the last time, and he commends you for that. Lamte is in East Legon. Lamte, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the good work you are doing to a mother gun. I have a contribution. I have a question for you.
Okay.
I have a driver who drives my Kia truck to convey blocks with license C. He had an accident somewhere around February, and the insurance people are saying because he's 24 years, he cannot drive the car, so they are denying me the claim. I want to know how far that is true. The guy is 24 years of age, and they are with license C, and they are saying he cannot drive a Kia truck. So I want to know how true is it?
Lamte, who is it the car that is 24 years or the driver?
The driver is 24 years of age. And the insurance people are saying because the guy is 24 years, he cannot drive that Kia with license C. So I want to know how true is it?
Right. The driver is 24 years, and the insurance company told him that because he's 24 years old, he cannot drive the Kia truck.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. We'll get you an answer. Thank you, Mr. Lamte. All right. Kweku is in Teshi. Hi, Kweku. Good morning.
Hey, hi, Kojo.
How are you doing, Kweku?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Some countries you see people who are born lame from birth, or somebody who has maybe one eye problem, the other one is okay, or somebody one hand is but they drive. But Ghana, I don't know what the law in Ghana say about that. Can those people, just my education, can those people also be given the license?
So a person who is blind in one eye or a person with one hand or arm?
Yeah, or yes, or one leg. Those people, they are disabled, but they live their normal life. So how about them too?
Okay. So, all right. That's a good question. People who are handicapable, as some people call them, can they get driving licenses in Ghana? Leo is in Ayimensa. Hi, Leo. Good morning.
Hi, Kojo. Good morning. Kojo, I have a question.
Yes.
Once I was stopped by a policeman, and that was around Tesano. And he took my license, and this gentleman just took his phone, and according to him, he has a software or something that he can verify if the license was fake. Eventually, he actually was taking me to the police station, and the long and short is we had to sort it out. I want to know, are the police equipped with any software or anything that can determine whether a license is fake or not?
Okay. Leo, before I get you an answer, because this was your own experience, please let me ask you, why did you settle it with him? Were you worried that your license might be fake?
No, my license was not fake, but that morning I was actually on my way to an event, program.
Right.
So I didn't want him to delay me because I knew very well the license was not fake. But he was insisting that it was fake, and because I was running late, I had to just settle him and then move on.
Okay.
But I took his number, telling him that I will come back and come and work on it. So I just wanted to know if the police have any software or anything that can actually determine whether a license is fake or it is just a dubious act that they are doing on the road.
Yeah. Okay, Leo, I'll get you an answer, but I think your first clue is in the fact that you know your license is genuine. So whether there is indeed such an app, we'll get you an answer. And also answers to your questions, Kweku and Lamte. All right, now let's come back into the studio. Kafui Semevo, Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing at the DVLA, has been answering all of your questions, and we have 3 more to go. Mr. Lamte wanted to know why he was told by his insurance company that his driver, a 24-year-old, is not allowed to drive a Kia truck.
Okay, so before I respond to that question, let me take the opportunity to thank Samson for the encouraging words. Now, it means that the driver did not meet the age requirements for driving commercial vehicles. So I will read a section of the law that clearly states that if you look at regulations 37(1)(b), it reads, a person is disqualified from holding or obtaining a license to drive a commercial vehicle if that person is under 25 years of age. Now, in engaging the driver, you must look at the class of license, the class of vehicle the person is going to drive to one. Determine whether the class of license permits the person to drive that vehicle. The second thing is the license valid? Then the person's age. Is the person's of that age that permits the person to drive that vehicle? And in this case, for commercial, it is 25 years as of today. However, we are also noticing that with the ride-hailing companies, a lot more younger people are engaging in commercial driving activities. So if you take these people out, what will happen is that you are creating unemployment. So again, we have recommended for amendment of that law, and once the amendment comes, the age will be varied.
What was the thinking behind it? I mean, what is it that a 25-year-old has that a 23-year-old may not have for driving a commercial vehicle?
This law was passed in 2012, and in most cases there may be some observations that were made, and to close the gap, some prescriptions may be made. But of course, laws are living documents. So once we notice that something should be amended, it will be amended, and that is why we've made that recommendation for the amendment.
We've got 2 minutes to go, so 1 minute per question, I guess. Kweku wants to know whether those I describe as handicapable are able to get driving licenses. Those who might be amputees or blind in one eye. Yeah.
So depending on your physical condition, you may be permitted to drive if it is identified that some devices can be provided to aid your driving, and that will ensure that you are safe and other road users are safe. However, when it comes to vision, the position of the law is that you should have vision in both eyes to be able to drive.
I see. Is that unique to Ghana or?
Jurisdictions vary depending on the systems you have in place for monitoring. You may give some relaxation of the law. But I know that there are countries that you can have single vision and you are permitted to drive.
Okay.
But for Ghana, the law restricts us to both eyes.
Finally, Leo, who wants to know whether this policeman who scanned his driver's license with his phone and said an app is checking its validity, whether he was doing wagadrin or whether that exists.
So for now, the DVLA has not deployed any application, any app for verification of license. We are working at that, and when the time comes, we will let the public know. It will even be available for public themselves to even verify before they even go out there. Right. So for now, no, we have not deployed any application for that purpose.
Leo, there you have it. And Kweku and Mr. Lamte, I hope your answers are helpful as well. We certainly have benefited so much from your presence with us, Mr. Kafui Semevo. Let's do more of these. You know, so many other areas that the public would love to be educated on. So let's see if we can arrange a few more of these conversations. Sure. Thank you so much. Mr. Semevo, of course, is the Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing at the DVLA.